December 26, 1944. A telephone shattered the silence at Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. On the line stood General George S. Patton, delivering 4 words that would reshape history. "We've broken through to Bastogne." Eisenhower had anticipated this call, but not for another 4 days. Not through freezing blizzards. Not after executing the impossible 90-degree pivot that every military expert declared couldn't happen. For the first time, Patton had exceeded even his own legendary promises. What Eisenhower spoke in that moment, and in the critical hours afterward, exposed everything about their turbulent partnership. The decisive turning point of the Battle of the Bulge, and what unfolds when battlefield genius delivers against impossible odds. This is the untold story of that phone call. The words that followed. Words soaked in relief, weighted with gratitude, tinged with frustration, and wrapped in reluctant admiration. Let's dive in. December 19th, 1944. The crisis meeting at Verdun that military historians would study for generations. Wehrmacht forces had shattered American defensive lines across the Ardennes, punching a massive bulge through Allied positions. The elite 101st Airborne Division found themselves completely encircled at Bastogne, a vital crossroads town controlling 7 major highways. If Bastogne collapsed, German Panzer divisions could potentially race toward the Belgian coast, splitting Allied armies in half. The nightmare scenario of 1940 could repeat itself. Eisenhower summoned his senior commanders to coordinate an emergency response. Tension saturated the room like smoke. This represented the most massive German offensive in 4 years, blindsiding Allied intelligence completely. Commanders delivered reports of chaos, fragmented retreats, and deep uncertainty about German strategic intentions. Then Eisenhower posed the question everyone dreaded answering. How quickly can you strike north to liberate Bastogne? Most generals paused, mentally calculating logistics, fuel supplies, troop rotations. The arithmetic seemed impossible. Then Patton's voice cut through the hesitation. December 22nd, 3 full divisions. Silence swallowed the room. Fellow commanders exchanged skeptical glances. Classic Patton showmanship, they assumed. To extract 3 combat divisions from active fighting in the Saar region, rotate their entire axis of advance by 90 degrees, transport them over 100 miles through brutal winter terrain, and launch a synchronized assault in 48 hours? The logistics alone seemed operationally suicidal. Eisenhower's reaction remained deliberately measured. He understood Patton's history of ambitious promises that sometimes evaporated under reality's weight. But he also recognized that Patton represented his strongest hope for a breakthrough. According to officers present, Eisenhower leaned closer and spoke with quiet intensity. "George, I need complete clarity on this. The 101st Airborne is trapped without reinforcement. If they're overwhelmed, we face military catastrophe and a devastating blow to American morale. When you say December 22nd, are you giving me a realistic timeline or feeding me optimism?" Patton held Eisenhower's gaze without flinching. "Ike, the planning is already complete. My staff developed 3 separate contingency scenarios. I anticipated this emergency before your summons arrived. On December 22nd, my 4th Armored Division strikes north toward Bastogne. I'm betting my entire career on this." Eisenhower absorbed this revelation. Patton had actually war-gamed this exact crisis before the German offensive materialized, a level of strategic foresight that Eisenhower himself hadn't demonstrated. But anticipation and execution remained different challenges entirely. Eisenhower rendered his verdict. "Fine, George. This is your opportunity. But understand clearly, if you fail to deliver, if those surrounded paratroopers are lost, because you promised capabilities you couldn't produce, severe consequences follow. No additional chances remain." Patton's nod carried absolute conviction. "I'll reach them, Ike. Bank on it." Following the conference, Eisenhower drew his chief of staff, General Walter Bedell Smith, aside privately. Smith documented the exchange afterward. Eisenhower acknowledged gambling everything on Patton's performance. If Patton stumbled, both their careers might burn together. But Eisenhower sensed, perhaps genuinely for the first time, that Patton would actually deliver. Stakes this extreme would prevent even Patton from overreaching. Over the following 48 hours, Eisenhower monitored Third Army's progress through constant updates. The reports bordered on miraculous. Patton's forces were genuinely accomplishing the impossible, disengaging from combat, pivoting northward, positioning for assault despite frozen roads and enemy resistance. By December 21st, Eisenhower permitted himself cautious hope. The unthinkable might actually materialize. December 26, 1944, approximately 4:45 p.m., Eisenhower occupied his headquarters office at Versailles, analyzing situation maps from the Ardennes. The German offensive had entered its second week. American units had finally stabilized the northern sector, but crisis conditions persisted throughout the region. Bastogne remained surrounded, though the 101st continued their desperate resistance. Then his telephone rang. The duty officer announced the caller. "General Patton from Luxembourg, sir." Eisenhower grabbed the receiver immediately. "George. Ike, we've punched through to Bastogne. 4th Armored established contact with the 101st at 1650 hours. The corridor's narrow, but it's open. Supply convoys are rolling through as we speak." Silence stretched across the line. Multiple staff officers present that afternoon documented Eisenhower's reaction with remarkable consistency. First came visible physical relief. His shoulders dropped, facial tension dissolved. Then something unexpected happened. Eisenhower's eyes glistened with moisture. He rotated away from his staff momentarily, gathering composure. "George, repeat that. You've broken through?" "Confirmed, Ike." Captain William Dwight's tank company from the 37th Tank Battalion established initial contact. "The paratroopers are bloodied, but operational. We're widening the corridor continuously." Eisenhower's voice emerged thick with suppressed emotion. "George, congratulations. You accomplished it. You actually accomplished it." Then his commander's instincts reasserted themselves. "What's the corridor's security status?" Patton's response carried characteristic confidence. "German counterattacks are hammering our positions, but we're absorbing them. Additional units are pushing through continuously. By tomorrow morning, Bastogne will be permanently secured." After brief tactical coordination, Eisenhower concluded the call. He sat motionless for extended seconds, processing the magnitude of what had just occurred. Then he addressed his assembled staff. General Smith recorded Eisenhower's precise words. "Gentlemen, George Patton has just achieved something I genuinely doubted possible. He promised December 22nd and delivered December 26th. Given the blizzard conditions and enemy resistance, that's close enough to miraculous by any reasonable standard." Then Eisenhower displayed something his staff rarely witnessed, a broad, genuine smile spreading across his exhausted face. "Prepare an immediate message for the 101st. Inform them relief forces have arrived. And transmit my personal congratulations to General Patton and every soldier in Third Army. They fundamentally transformed this entire battle." Within hours of Patton's breakthrough, Eisenhower confronted decisions about public communication. The Battle of the Bulge had generated near panic across America. Headlines speculated about German victory, potential Allied collapse, questions about whether American forces could halt the Wehrmacht's momentum. Bastogne's liberation represented the first authentically positive development since the offensive began. Eisenhower's official statement, released December 27th, reflected careful diplomatic construction. Units of Lieutenant General George S. Patton's Third Army have successfully broken through to relieve American forces surrounded at Bastogne. This operation, executed under severe winter conditions against determined enemy resistance, demonstrates the fighting quality of American soldiers and the operational excellence of their commanders. The defenders of Bastogne displayed extraordinary courage and determination. Their relief by Third Army forces marks a turning point in repelling the German offensive. The statement distributed credit diplomatically, honoring both the 101st Airborne's heroic defense and Third Army's dramatic relief operation. But Eisenhower's private communications revealed far more. To British Field Marshal Montgomery, coordinating the northern response, Eisenhower wrote, "Patton's performance in relieving Bastogne was exceptional. The speed with which he pivoted his entire army and launched a coordinated assault exceeded my expectations, and I suspect German expectations as well." To General Bradley, Patton's direct superior, Eisenhower expressed greater candor. George delivered precisely when it mattered most. Whatever frustrations I've endured regarding his behavior and insubordination, this operation justifies my decision to retain him in command. He achieved what no other general could have achieved. But Eisenhower also dispatched a personal message directly to Patton, revealing the relationship's full complexity. "George, congratulations on a brilliant operation, brilliantly executed. Your planning, your army's execution, and your personal leadership made the critical difference. I am proud of Third Army's accomplishment. However, I want absolute clarity. This success does not erase previous issues or license future insubordination. You've demonstrated what you can achieve when you follow orders and operate within command structure. Continue that approach, and there's no limit to what you can accomplish." The message captured Eisenhower's characteristic approach, authentic praise combined with firm reminders of boundaries. He wanted Patton understanding that even spectacular success didn't excuse everything. In the days following Bastogne's liberation, Eisenhower's private diary entries and personal correspondence revealed his conflicted feelings about Patton and the operation. These weren't public statements designed for morale purposes. They represented honest reflections on command, leadership, and the burden of managing brilliant but difficult subordinates. On December 28th, Eisenhower wrote his wife Mamie, "Patton achieved something remarkable. I've invested so much energy being frustrated with George, his ego, his controversies, his constant insubordination, that I sometimes forget why I retain him in command," Bastogne reminded me. "When stakes reach their highest, when situations appear impossible, George delivers. I don't know if any other general could have accomplished what he did." That's simultaneously reassuring and deeply concerning. Am I becoming too dependent on one difficult individual? To General George Marshall, Army Chief of Staff, Eisenhower provided more analytical assessment. The Bastogne operation illustrates both strengths and challenges of coalition command. Patton's operational execution was flawless, exactly the aggressive mobile warfare we require. However, his ability to anticipate this crisis and prepare contingency plans raises questions about proper subordinate autonomy. Patton prepared for a German offensive most of us failed to predict. He was correct. We were mistaken. How do we balance that foresight against unified command requirements? In his personal diary, Eisenhower wrote with brutal honesty, "George exhausts me. Managing him consumes more energy than managing 3 conventional commanders." But Bastogne justified every frustration, every controversy, every moment I considered relieving him. Those paratroopers owe their lives to George's speed and aggression. The entire Ardennes campaign might have become catastrophic defeat without his response. I cannot dismiss a man who saves battles. I cannot even reprimand him when he's just proven his methods produce results. This represents the impossible position George creates. He's correct too frequently for me to change him, but difficult too frequently for me to enjoy our partnership. Perhaps most tellingly, Eisenhower wrote Winston Churchill, "General Patton has demonstrated why, despite his difficulties, he remains invaluable." His relief of Bastogne may have rescued the entire Ardennes campaign. I wanted you understanding this because I'm aware of concerns regarding Patton's temperament. Those concerns carry validity, but his operational capabilities carry equal validity. At this moment in the war, We need those capabilities more than we need comfortable personalities. Bastogne's liberation permanently transformed how Eisenhower viewed and managed Patton. It established new equilibrium in their relationship, one grounded in proven capability rather than potential, in demonstrated results rather than promised performance. In January 1945, Eisenhower convened a commanders' conference reviewing Battle of the Bulge lessons. Discussing Third Army's performance, Eisenhower stated publicly, "General Patton's relief of Bastogne represents one of this war's outstanding operational achievements. The speed, coordination, and aggressiveness Third Army displayed sets a standard for mobile warfare. Every commander would benefit from studying this operation." This acknowledgement carried significance. Eisenhower was essentially presenting Patton as an exemplary model, something he'd previously avoided given Patton's controversies. But Bastogne had earned that recognition. However, Eisenhower also clarified this didn't grant unlimited license. In a private February 1945 meeting, Eisenhower reportedly told Patton, "George, Bastogne purchased credibility lasting the remainder of this war. Don't squander it. You've proven you can achieve the impossible when it matters. Now prove you can follow orders when they don't match your preferences. Become the general I know you can be, one who delivers miracles while respecting command structure." For the European campaign's remainder, Eisenhower granted Patton greater operational freedom than other commanders received. Third Army received ambitious objectives and resources with less micromanagement than before Bastogne. Eisenhower had learned that Patton performed optimally when given clear goals and room to maneuver. Years afterward, in his memoir Crusade in Europe, Eisenhower wrote, "General Patton's relief of Bastogne vindicated my decision to retain him despite numerous controversies. His rapid movement of 3 divisions through terrible weather, his aggressive attack, and his breakthrough to the surrounded garrison demonstrated operational excellence at the highest level. History will judge Patton by his battlefield achievements, and Bastogne stands among his finest." In private correspondence decades later, Eisenhower grew more personal. "George and I shared a complicated relationship. He frustrated me constantly. But when I received that phone call on December 26, 1944, hearing we've broken through to Bastogne, I experienced profound relief and gratitude. In that moment, every frustration became meaningless. George saved those paratroopers. He possibly saved the entire Ardennes campaign. That's what I remember most, not the controversies, but the moment he delivered exactly when it mattered most." The phone call announcing Bastogne's relief transcended tactical communication. It represented vindication, validation, and the defining moment of the Eisenhower-Patton relationship. What Eisenhower said revealed genuine admiration, overwhelming relief, and the heavy burden of commanding difficult genius. Hit like, share your thoughts about managing brilliant but difficult people, and pass this along to anyone who appreciates command's true complexity. Thanks for watching.